Hey y'all, and welcome to Politabrawl. My name is Brian, and Senator Kennedy, as usual, just sounds off on this ridiculous reporter and says something that really is going to make you question how the GOP works. I'll explain that in a minute, but before we dive in, I want to give a quick shout out to our friends over at Native Path, whose products, particularly their collagen peptides, can help you live a healthier life. But more on that later. Now, let's dive in.
But just to make sure, you guys haven't spoken to anyone who's voting differently on tabling or not tabling based on if this happens on a Thursday or a Monday, right?
Wait, what?
Like,
What?
by pushing this to Monday as opposed to doing this on Thursday, you haven't spoken to anyone within the Republican or Democratic side that says, I'm gonna vote to not table because this is happening a few days later.
What kind of question is that?
Well, no,
How do you
I'm
know
trying to
we don't have the
understand
votes?
I'm
How-
asking if you do, and I'm asking what the point, what the benefit of the delay is.
Well, the benefit of the delay is, that we have a chance to talk about the issue. I mean, if you guys want to go back and write an article about whether your LinkedIn page is holding you back, you can do that, or you can write about this issue. And short of getting rid of the filibuster, this goes to the heart of the United States Senate. I happen to think, and I think my colleagues agree with me, that maybe talking about it for a few days might, before we take the Constitution and turn it upside down, just might be a wise thing to do.
Well, and I'll
Now, I
say,
can't tell you that every Republican is going to vote for this. I can't tell you that.
and nor do
You know as well as I do that we have some free-range chickens, and they wander off, and sometimes we can't catch them.
They're healthy though.
And they have the right to be free-range chickens. I'm just telling you, all these questions that are being asked, you're falling into Senator Schumer's trap, because he's going to try to muddy up this water to make it look deep. There's nothing complicated about this. You either believe in the Constitution or you don't.
I will say there was strong consensus in the Senate lunch today to delay this delivery of impeachment so we can have this discussion, because we feel this is an important discussion to have. So again, that was almost unanimous consensus. Nobody, people asked, anybody dissent? Nobody did.
Ladies and gentlemen, I usually love talking about these sort of policy points. I love legislative battles like this. It's my political nerd coming out here. But that's not what's entertaining. That's not what I actually want to talk about. It's not about procedure. It's not about, kicking Mayorkas to the curb and impeaching him like he deserves. We already know that part. No, it's the free-range chickens comment. But before I want to get to that, I do want to address what Ron Johnson said right there at the end. This is a smart decision to delay it a little bit, to make sure that you have the votes, to make sure that you have some consensus, and to make sure everyone's on the same page. It's hard to herd 50 Republicans together and try to get them all on the same, well, in this case 49, all on the exact same page. That's a tough thing to do. And thus, that's all Ron Johnson's trying to add to the situation. But the free-range chicken comment, which of course came from Senator Kennedy, oh man, God bless Senator Kennedy. The free-range chickens comment is a reminder that the Republican is still a big tent party, and people will go their own way and will think what they want to think. And sometimes they'll buck the trend. John McCain was known as being a maverick. He was more of a moderate, and he would jump from side to side every now and then. And then you have your hardliners. But ultimately, what you have is a unique opportunity to understand how the Republican Party works as a coalition. Hey y'all, I wanted to give a quick shout out to our new sponsors, Native Path. Created by Dr. Chad out of Austin, Texas, he realized that there was something deeply wrong in this medical community. And instead of focusing on nutrition, they were just focused on serving Big Pharma. So he left and created this new company called Native Path. And what do they do over there? They sell something called collagen. Now, what is collagen? Well, it's not magic fairy dust. It's not this muscle milk. It's not calcium rich. Instead, It is an odorless, flavorless, dissolves completely in water powder that you can mix. And unlike iocane powder, this stuff has massive health benefits. It can help your bones, your joints, your ligaments, your skin, your hair follicles, even your fingernails. This stuff is absolutely packed with the nutrients that we lose so constantly in our modern diet. This stuff is a fantastic supplement, can help you live a healthier life. And if you go to this link down here below, you will find up to 45% off of certain products. That is how much Native Path cares about your health. So go check them out, link in the description below. And now, back to regularly scheduled programming. So there are essentially 5 kinds of Republicans, okay? And you know what? Let's do it this way. 5 kinds. The first kind, the most banal kind, is the kind that I like to think I'm a part of, but it's really in name only. I call this group the solutionists. These would be your Mitt Romneys, your John Kasichs, and at one point it would have been even as abrasive as he could be, Newt Gingrich. These are people that typically don't want to rock the boat, but want to reform things from the inside. And these are people who think critically, think categorically, and are just really good at reversing things via policy. Ron DeSantis definitely is in this kind of group. Group number 2, arguably the most important ones, and the ones you really don't hear about. These are people that I call chamberists. And why are they called chamberists? Well, these are the same kind of people that work your chambers of commerce. These are the people who have a major influence over local elections, and ultimately, it's a similar mindset up at the top. They're the people who are just reminding everyone, sort of whispering in their ears, hey, remember what pays the bills. And so these folks are a little bit more moderate. They don't want to rock the boat either, and they're not as socially conservative. And not always fiscally conservative, because again, it's an attempt to keep the status quo. So you can always trust a chamberist to be a little bit slimy, but you know exactly what they're going to do with it. The solutionists are usually joined at the hip with the chamberists, because the solutionists occasionally will bring forth an idea. The chamberists will take and go, yes, here's money, here's help, let's get this through. Then you have your Jacksonians, your populists, and they can oscillate greatly on the political spectrum, but ultimately they're usually on the outside of that group. They aren't allowed to eat at the big kids' table like the chamberists and the solutionists. And so they're often a little bit angry, and they're often the ones that notice that there's a problem. Then you have your evangelicals, who often work with the populists because they see the problems socially, but it's almost all through a Christian lens, or at least an evangelical Christian lens. Then you have your libertarians. Now, the Jacksonians and the evangelicals are practically the same thing right now. But the libertarians are the true mavericks. And they're not true libertarians, so to speak. I just lump them down there. Because true libertarians wear underwear on their heads and talk about they have the freedom to do that. I'm kidding, but we've seen what happens in their conventions. Can someone tell me what's going on down there? Please. So, the libertarians will often play both sides depending on who's stronger and who more aligns with their positions. These are the less government types. They don't tend to care too much about tradition. And so sometimes they're with the solutionists and chamberists, sometimes they're with the evangelicals and the populists. It just depends on the way the winds are blowing. Currently, they're with the populists because Donald Trump has moved. He's moved from traditionally conservative to a little bit more moderately conservative. And that's why he has moved, and that's why his rhetoric has changed. But that's another topic for another day. So, all these free-range chickens sort of have their own little tribes. And occasionally, they'll all come home to roost, but sometimes they'll leave the reservation. And so, when it comes to an impeachment trial, you got to make sure that everyone's on board. And that's ultimately the reason why they took longer. It's really that simple, and it's not really that hard to grasp. This reporter was just looking for clout, and Senator Kennedy clouded right back in traditional Southern fashion. Folks, my name is Brian. Hope you enjoyed that segment here on Politibrawl. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Catch you on the next one, and until then, y'all have a good one.